Hey everyone, Mr. Mac here. Let's try this again. First recording didn't go so well. So, anywho, I know it's been a while since I've recorded a video. It's Things have been crazy. They're, I mean, you can see it in society. We're in a pandemic. The school systems are different wherever you go. We're still hybrid, although we've had some school closings for a period of time due to outbreaks. Politics are nuts. Society is just not in a good state right now. It's okay. We'll get through it though. So, anywho, I'll try and get recording more often. So I've been having some difficult conversations in my classroom lately. Well, there's a lot going on, so there has been. So I got to thinking, what are some good tips for having difficult conversations in the classroom? Well, I'll first address from a teacher standpoint, and then I'll get to a student standpoint for either who are watching. So first of all, there are a lot of good resources to help us as teachers host those difficult conversations. There's one that I just watched recently. It's a webinar from Teaching Tolerance. It's very good. It covers some of the very good basics. I'll go ahead and post that link, giving them credit. I recommend it. Go ahead, watch it. It's really, really good. So what about me? What are some things that I do? First of all, it's really important to have those difficult conversations in the classroom. It doesn't really matter what your subject is. Now, certain things, it may seem like it's easier for me as a social studies teacher to have, like about what's going on in politics, race riots, protests, that sort of thing seem to be kind of in the realm of social studies. But you shouldn't shy away from those in any other subject areas. There are plenty of outlets, no matter what your subject is, to have a variety of different difficult conversations. I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter. Reproduction in science. If you're an experienced science teacher, it's probably not that hard for you, but the kids are can get uncomfortable. It can be tricky. So, just some things that I do. First of all, as almost anything, from a teacher standpoint, we have to have those relationships or growing relationships with our students. We have to get to know them. They have to get to know us, because in that process, we understand how they learn, what's important to them, and we can also understand maybe what some triggers are, because we all have our own triggers. So what are some triggers that our students might have? We got to be aware of those. Something might come up. Another student might say something. We might inadvertently say something that we don't mean to be taken a certain way. It happens. So we have to be aware of that so we can approach things appropriately as far as any conversation in our classrooms. That doesn't mean we should shy away from the conversations, though. They still need to happen. We have to address things such as race and politics. Those can be tough conversations, especially these days. So we shouldn't shy away from them, because difficult conversations such as can happen, and honestly lately in my room, I can't speak for everybody, but in my room have been happening a lot. They help. They're very important. They help us understand a variety of perspectives, and it allows us the opportunity to help our students understand a lot of different things, including various perspectives that they may come across that they just don't see as legit. Well, everybody thinks differently. So, as I've said before, so as teachers, we need to be aware of our students' backgrounds, where they're coming from, their points of views, their perspectives, what might set them off. We need to be aware of that stuff. Now, we also, a lot of things that are what I will do is let the students steer the conversation. Now, There has to be boundaries. Yes, we have to have those boundaries to prevent a conversation from going too far. Uh, like it was, it can be taken as kind of silly, but just this year I had one student go, "Oh, the purge should be real." I've seen the Purge movies. No, and they actually started to roll with it, and other students jumped in, and I mean, yes, they probably were not serious, but with the way they were talking, it could go a little too far. So had to put a stop to that. So as teachers, yes, we have to know when to put a stop. That's just one example. I could go on, but because I've had to do that a lot. But we do have to set those boundaries, and they have to be known boundaries. The students have to be aware when, what might be considered going too far. So don't be afraid to let your students go off and just steer the conversation, but also don't be afraid to rein it in when it needs to be reined in. We got to be aware of that stuff. So, what about from a student standpoint? Okay. Now, a lot of times, yes, it can be difficult for especially younger teachers, newer teachers, to host difficult conversations, but it's actually can be a lot more difficult, depending on the topic, for students to participate. Because there could be triggers, they could have certain triggers, and because they just don't feel comfortable. I get it, and if you think about it, we were all students too. We've been there. So, guys, don't be afraid to ask your teacher if there's something that you want to talk about. That's okay. And it's okay if it's difficult. It's okay if it's hard. But remember, you guys are building that relationship too. So you're getting to know your teachers as well. You get to understand how to bring things up. Now, a lot of times, your more experienced teachers, they'll be fine with it. They've seen it all. But still, it might, even the most experienced teachers can come across something new and a new conversation that throws them off. Not in a bad way, just unexpected. So as we teachers need to be patient with these students don't forget, try to be patient with your teachers as well, because something may catch them off guard and they may have to process it for a moment. It happens to me quite a bit. So a lot of times I have to take some time to process what was asked of me and think about it. It's like, okay, how do we talk about this? And that's okay. We're all human. We all need time on occasion. But don't be afraid to ask. Those conversations need to happen. And if you're kind of toying with the idea of bringing up a certain topic in class, then you probably should bring it up. Now, it makes sense if you don't want to bring it up in front of the class. That's okay. That can be tricky. But most students have this great technology right at their fingertips, whether it be tablet or MacBook, or they can have access to a computer. Now, I get it. Not all schools have a 1-to-1 ratio. But if you do have access to technology, email your teacher. I have had students email me a lot. Now it's not. And it may be just to see if it's okay, but sometimes you may not feel comfortable and you don't want to bring it up at all. Well, if it's something that is worth talking about, which if it's important to you, it generally is, we will listen, email us, and we'll bring it up. I've done that a lot. I've brought up conversations that weren't my idea. I've just had a student say, hey, can we talk about this? Okay, sure. Now, there's been a couple of times where I've been like, no, I'll try and let me think about that, or I'll think about that, and maybe we'll bring it up a different way, or sometimes it takes us a little bit to think about the appropriate way to bring something up. But there are occasions where it's not appropriate to talk about in classroom, but that shouldn't stop you from asking. The worry of that shouldn't stop you from asking your teacher. Shoot us an email and we'll address it. Because if it's important to you, then it's important to us. We want to hear what's important to you. So bring it up. So it's not that, it is that hard. I shouldn't say it's not that hard, because bringing up, it's a difficult topic for a reason. It's a difficult discussion for a reason. It's very hard, and people will get uncomfortable. That shouldn't stop us. We need to talk about these things. And I know a lot of people who do. I know a lot of teachers who bring up difficult discussions. I know people outside of schools, education, that bring up difficult discussions that are willing to have it. So they're difficult, but we need to have them. And as always, don't hesitate to ask me any questions. If you have any ideas, if you have anything that, or teachers, if you have any resources that you would like to share with me, I'll be happy. I love resources. So I'll be happy to take a look at them. And if you want me to go back and come back to this topic and elaborate some more, we can have the back and forth discussion. Love to do that. Same thing with any students who are watching. Don't hesitate to let me know. Let me know what you want to talk about. Ask me any question. I'm here. So ask Mr. Mac. Take care. Have a good break, everybody. Breathe some and try to relax. See you soon.